Whenever I started my seminary experience, I'll call it, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have any aspirations of being a pastor or anything like that, but I did know that I was in a place in my life where I knew I wanted to do something. I was just sort of at a standstill. I didn't know what God wanted, so I had a friend suggest, why not try Grace School of Theology? And so after praying about it, I decided, well, it can't hurt. Personal enrichment is great. So we'll just see what God does. And within, I think, the first semester, I had an offer to be a children's pastor, packed up and moved to Victoria, Texas, and was immediately using all the wonderful things that I was learning at that point. It's funny that you never know what God has planned. A year and a half later, we moved back, and now I'm working with Pastor and Dr. Dan Greer doing the same thing, children's pastor at Community Baptist here in the Woodlands, Texas. It's just been amazing. You know, the more I take class after class, it's just building on top of one class upon another. And it's just wonderful to see how I can apply it all. Probably one of the things that was most special, I suppose, about the experience at graduation was seeing the diversity of people. You know, you had people that were there from Korea, Philippines, just all over the world. And, the smiles on their faces, it was just pretty amazing to see, all the things that they were there to celebrate. It's just been so enriching to continually learn. It seems like class after class is, like I said, building on top of each other until you're starting to get this. Dr. Anderson calls it spreadsheet theology. It's a kind of understanding this really complex spreadsheet, how one thing affects another. So if you change one little thing on your view and theology, it's going to affect so many other things. And I didn't appreciate that until I started studying and realizing how the mechanics of theology work. And you can't just go change one thing and not expect that there's going to be plenty of other things that change along the way. And it has been revealing, for lack of a deeper word, to get to the point where you can just kind of see how everything comes together and how Reformed thinking, it just sort of falls apart because the pieces don't go together. But free grace theology, it does truly come together, and you see the majesty of God's puzzle, as it were. What would I encourage people to keep in mind as they pursue their career is just embrace it. Open up your minds, because we come into things with such our presuppositions, And, I had presuppositions before I had my experience. And if you just read the Bible, you're going to realize that it says certain things, and they may not be the certain things that you thought that they said. You have to understand not only, you reading it through the lens of our 21st century culture in the Western world. You have to think what things were like back in, the first century in Jerusalem, what it was like 2,000 years before that. There are a lot of things that are different, and the language is different. I mean, even though I haven't taken any Hebrew or Greek classes myself personally, I have found the tools to be able to validate the things that I'm being taught. So be a good Berean. Read the Bible and understand what the previous authors meant in their languages.
I believe in grace, and we are growing together to higher levels.